Hello, welcome to Three Crows Runes. My name is Jen. Let's do some rune readings. Today we are doing readings where so you've been going along in your flow and you've been on your journey, but then something seems to have paused your flow a little bit. And you're wondering, what can I do to unblock this flow so that I can resume my journey? That's what these messages are going to be about. So we have 4 cards from the Pure Magic Oracle. Card number 1, card number 2, card number 3, and card number 4. I am going to be using the Elder Futhark on clay. This is actually my oldest rune set that I have. This is an old Blum set, so yay. And I will put the timestamps in the description, and I will see you at the reading. Bye! Hello to all of you who chose card number 1. So let's turn this and see, first of all, what you need to address so that the flow can resume and so that your journey can resume. So let's turn this, and we have Baraka, Power, Strength, Force, and Expansion. Have you seen this movie? Oh my gosh. This doesn't have much to do with the movie, but that's an amazing movie if you get the chance to see it. We couldn't speak for like 20 minutes after the movie. It was just so visually engrossing. Anyway, Power, Strength, Force, Expansion. So tapping into that, I think maybe there may have been something that has happened where you've sort of not lost, but lost connection with that, like sort of turned away and then you couldn't find your way back into it. So this is what we need to reconnect with. Clearly, this is an earth kind of thing. So you can start by grounding. You can start by, doing that whole visualization where you're reaching down into the earth to tap the earth energy. So you reach down, down, down like you're putting in roots, but then also just like feeling your way down until you feel that flow up, and you're going to feel it. It's going to, before you even finish, you can do it on an exhale. This is basically how I do when we do readings in person. I will have you do a ground and center, which is a 2-breath process. First breath is that you take a deep inhale, and as you inhale, you imagine reaching up into tap the sky energy, reach up until the sky energy flows down into you. Then on your first exhale, you visualize reaching down, down, down into the earth until that earth energy flows up through you. And then the second, and as that happens, that's your second inhale, is all that earth energy flowing up into you and mixing with the sky energy and shooting out through the top of your head. And then the second exhale is all that energy combined, raining down around you, shining and filled with light. So as protection. So this is clearly part of what this is going to be. It's like reaching down and retapping into the earth energy. So let's get some runes down and get some clarification on this aspect. Yeah, it's a major challenge at this point. Oh, because of overwhelm. So you basically, okay, I don't want to tell the whole thing. So let's get the runes down first. We're going to do the whole reading to begin with. That's perfect right there. That's perfect. When I'm done putting down the runes, then I will read them. But this is basically, it's half the Futhark. It's about half the Futhark. I sometimes will refer to this as a half rack reading that I do for these. And yeah. So your central issue for this reading is Thurizaz reversed. Thurizaz is the rune of the thorn, the giant, the gateway. It's the challenge. When it's upright, it's an open door. When it is reversed, it's a thorn wall, basically. So it's a very difficult challenge that you're facing right now. You feel like you have not got the connection that you would like to with your own power, strength, and earth energy. And it's very difficult. You feel like you can't move forward. Interestingly, with the thorns, and then we've got the plants. So it's kind of like you've blocked yourself from your own access to that. What has led up to this is basically overwhelm. We have Dagaz, which is the rune of the breaking of the day. It's basically so much coming at you at once that you just feel like you couldn't. Sorry, just making sure. I guess I can turn it that way. So this was sort of a self-defense thing where you turned away from all of what was coming at you, but now you have to reconnect with your source as far as the earth energy is concerned to be able to get back into the flow and move forward again. So here we are, very difficult challenge. Thurizaz reversed Thurizaz is always a challenge, but when it's reversed, it's an extremely difficult challenge. sometimes it feels almost impossible. But it just means you can't go directly through it. You have to sort of find your way around or under it or over it. What is going to help you here is we have Avaz reversed. Avaz is the rune of the horse. This has to do with movement and also spirit. Reversed on the upper line, I'm seeing this as sort of internal galloping. We need to find our way, like connect with spirit internally, whatever your inner spirit is for you, and that's what you're going to allow to carry you past this challenge. And so this is where you're going to go inward and you're going to reach down and connect with your earth energy, and that's going to help you to reconnect with your power and your strength. What isn't going to help you is we have Kaunaz reversed, which is the rune of the torch or the fire. When it's upright, it has to do with expansion, and when it's reversed, well, this is interesting because this is expansion. And you haven't been, which is why this isn't helping you. So this is basically a narrowing of focus, a narrowing of options, a reduction of options. And this is basically based on this. You were overwhelmed, so you feel like, no, I have to keep shutting things out. I have to keep, because I'm protecting myself, I have to keep shutting everything out because it's not enough. There's just still stuff coming at me. And that's obviously not going to help you. You do need to be able to connect with the earth energies. So at least like what's going to keep you nourished. So and then with your strength, and so you can move forward. So bring yourself back up to where you're going to do this internally, because right now externally is a lot. So we want to do this so that you're connecting internally to this power source, and that way you're not going to have to be looking straight into the sun. You're basically going in from an inside way, and that's what this is also. It's an internal challenge, and the only open door is when you face it internally. So your next rune on the path line, and your next step on the path line, and the rune that is pinning the entire reading in the center is Raido. Raido is the rune of the journey. This is your journey forward. So as soon as you do this, you'll be able to connect with your journey forward and go forward. So this is basically where the blockage was, which is interesting because this is all. When I was asking what was kind of reading we should do today, I got Laguz and I got Raido. And Laguz is flow, and Raido is the journey. And that's why this is like we're unblocking the flow so you can resume your journey. And so this is interesting because I'll get to it in a second. So your next, what's pinning the reading is the journey. It's all about the journey and resuming the journey forward. What's going to help you is we have Laguz reversed. Laguz is the rune of the water, and this has to do with emotion, intuition, heart, and flow. It is also reversed. So you are just like you went internally to reconnect with source, like with the earth source energy, and letting your spirit carry you internally for that. You're also connecting with your flow internally. This is like your inner river. So it's intuition, it's dreams. If you are generally connecting with dreams, otherwise, it's your intuition. It's what's going to be going on around you that is giving you messages. You are surfing negative emotions, so you're acknowledging your unpleasant emotions and you are letting them flow, and that's you're just letting them be the weather they are, and you are seeking your deep inner heart, and that's going to help you as you move forward on your journey, because this is you're tapping into what is flowing, because what's outside of you right now is a lot, and it's making it very difficult for things to flow. So establish that flow, establish your connection to flow internally for that, and also by doing that you connected with the earth energy. What isn't going to help you in this is we have Sofila, which is the rune of the sun. This is source energy. It's a very positive rune in a negative spot, which means worries about that thing. So you are worried about your energy levels. This is why you're doing all of this, because you lost connection with that energy level. I mean, you always had access, but you sort of you misplaced the door kind of thing. And so you are worried about energy levels in this case. And this is all the more reason why to establish that internal connection to flow, because then you can access it even if outside is forbidding. So you are moving forward in that. Your next step on the path line, we have Gabo, which is the rune of the gift. This is agreements, decisions, goals, and plans. It also can be one-on-one interactions, but it's always an exchange. A gift is always an exchange. So you are moving forward from where you've resumed your journey, and now you are probably both making a plan, like setting some goals, and also just even the fact that you've resumed your journey is sort of like, okay, we can check that off our to-do list. We are doing this. It is good. But basically so this may actually even be a completion, like you've completed resuming your journey. But also this is the step where you're going to be making plans. And you may be having one-on-one interactions with others at this point, but I think the key here is now that we've resumed our journey and we've reestablished connection to flow, and connected with our earth energy, which gives us our power and strength, that we're going to make a plan so that we can maintain that. What is going to help you is we have the blank rune. This is staying open, basically, to what there is, recognizing that things are not mapped, that you're moving through a trackless space because you haven't been here before, and also connection with the divine, whatever the divine is for you. Definitely will help you just to be open, really, to what's happening, because you do have access now to what you were missing before. And so now that you have that, it doesn't really matter what gets thrown at you to a certain extent, because you have access to what was giving you power and strength. What isn't going to help you? We have Ingvaz. Ingvaz is Ing's rune. Ing is another name for Frey, and Frey is the fertility god. I read Ingvaz as active creation. And so this is, the lower line is always the opposite to the upper line. The upper line is always the antidote to the lower line. And yes, you could make things worse for yourself by choosing to go with the lower line, to choose to continue to shut things out, to choose to lose yourself in worry about my energy levels, and to also try to force things to be something that they're not. We have active creation in the lower line, and that's basically not being open to what there is, just assuming what there is, and just trying to force things to be something that maybe they aren't, and that can just lead to frustration and exhaustion. This obviously will not help you. So bring yourself back up at this stage where you're making plans and you're checking off, okay, I got this, I'm moving forward now, we did it, and also making plans for the future, and just to allow yourself to be open to what there is and what's happening, and connect with the divine, whatever the divine is for you. Your end rune, your outcome rune on this particular spread is Manas reversed. Manas is the rune of humanity and your part in it. This is reversed on the path line, and your outcome is that you are basically not really ever going to go back to letting yourself be completely buffeted around by the things that are coming at you in the world. You're always going to bury it a little bit, not in a bad way, but in a way where you're going to be accessing things through your deeper pathways. First of all, you're tuning out the den of humanity, which is important because it was knocking you around at the beginning. But look how this is reflected in this. So this is what you came from, where everything was overwhelming, and this is where you're leading to, where this is still there, but you're coming at it from like around the way. You're coming at it from your internal direction, being carried by spirit. So you're going a little bit deeper in order to access this. You're going through where there is strength. You're going through where you have access to source to a certain extent, more than you did before, where it's just coming at you. And so it's like you've just like buried it a little bit as far as your access to the things. You're not allowing it to buffet you around anymore because you're coming at it in such a way that protects you. You're sort of viewing it from inside the armor of source, which is not blocking things out so much as just giving you what you need around you in order to take it in a way that doesn't cause you harm. So that, card number 1, people, is your reading for unblocking the flow and resuming your journey. I'm sure I'll come with a much more concise title for this when I make my cover page. I wish you all the best with this, and I wish you a lovely day or evening. Take care till next time. Bye. Hello, card number 2, people. Welcome, welcome. Let's turn this card and see the main ingredient of what is going to help you unblock the flow and reconnect with the flow so that you can resume your journey if it has paused. So drawing down the sun, wildfire, divine masculine, magnificence, witness. So you really want to, and this is basically so velo. You want to connect with your source energy, connect with whatever source energy is for you, but it's basically the sun. Maybe even get some sunshine. Maybe it's not a fun thing to be out in the summer sun if you're in the northern hemisphere like I am, but at least just, even if you're in air conditioning, allow yourself to turn your face to the sky a little bit and get that vitamin D happening, because that's really important. Maybe that alone will help you start to come around, or get your circadian rhythms back in order, because that might be another thing that could be dragging you down at this point and could have made you feel a little bit lost, as far as not really as connected to your flow as you would like it to be. So things to do with that. So we have Suvilo, which is the rune of the sun, which is source energy, and pretty much anything else you can think of with that. If you're into tarot, it could be sun card, where you're just celebrating brightness and newness and being returned to a state of your true nature, your basic nature, almost like going back to childhood and finding who you are at that point. That pure you could definitely help. Okay, that's good. I just wanted to flip up that way. That's fine. Your central issue, we have Uruz reversed. Uruz is the rune of the wild ox. This has to do with strength and health. It's reversed in the central issue spot. So I'm going to read this a few ways. First of all, you are feeling a little bit unseated. You're feeling like the rug has been pulled out from under you a little bit, and you're feeling a little bit not as strong as you would like to, or a little bit not as healthy as you would like to. Maybe you worry about not being as strong as you would like to be, or not being as healthy as you'd like to be. The other thing that Uruz talks about is resistance. And so reversed, there's a sense of that you feel that you can't resist the things that are coming at you. You feel like you can't stand up to them. And you feel like knocked off your feet, and that you've been tumbled, and your will has been removed from you, kind of thing. Like, that you're doing this, that you're being forced to endure things that are against your will. Leading up to this, we have Othala reversed. Othala is the rune of the home and the homeland, and it feels like I usually read Othala reversed as you stepping out of your comfort zone and finding home within and letting go of things that no longer serve you. But this really feels, especially next to Uruz reversed, like you're sort of thrust out of your comfort zone in a certain sense, where you didn't want to. It ended up being like something just thrust you out of there, and you're feeling like you're completely off balance. You can't seem to find footing, and you're not feeling as strong or as grounded as you would like to. And so what you're needing at this point, and I don't see Sovilo here, but it's here, is to reconnect with your. I mean, how do I put this? In the Elder Futhark, there's the verse in the poem about I bow to the doom of holiness, which basically is like the sun, brings light to the darkness, and there's no arguing with it. You can't argue with it. It's basically the end of the darkness when the sun shines in it. So you're off balance, and you need this to come in and just stabilize things. So what's going to help you in this stage? We have Raido, which is the rune of the journey, which is wonderful because the whole thing is about reestablishing the flow so that you can resume your journey. When I drew some runes to find out what we were reading about today, that was what I got, was Laguz and Raido. So we have, we need to reconnect with flow, or unblock the flow, so we can reconnect, have that flow going, so we can resume our journey. So see this as part of the journey. Even if it doesn't seem to be moving forward the way that you would like to, this is still a part of your journey, and resuming your journey is key. What isn't going to help is we have Ingvaz, which is Ing's rune. I read this as active creation. You may feel like, people get into that mode of, and then we're going to fix it, and we're going to fix it, and it gets to a point where it's compulsive and it's almost fanatical, where we're going to fix it instead of actually fixing what happened, or instead of actually looking at what's going on and acting accordingly. It's like that incredibly funny joke, which I'm about to spoil for you, from that Marx Brothers film, where there's this wonderful bit where it's like, we got to go and find it, we got to go knock on all the doors, we got to knock on the neighbor's door, on the doors next door, and it's like, well, what if there's no house? Knock on the houses next door. Well, if there's no houses next door, it's like, well, then we got to build some. So it goes on like that. But so basically, yeah, it's just you get caught into that, where you're continually fixing the rigging. We got to fix the rigging. Got to fix the rigging. Well, there's a point where there's no boat anymore. So stop trying to fix the rigging and get yourself a new boat. So this is sort of like, you're continually, or that other analogy of, you're bailing water while the faucet's on. So it's sort of, you can be exhausted by that. Don't keep trying to fix where you're at, because where you're at no longer is there. So move forward. This is now the time to move forward. Things are not going to be steady where you are. So moving forward is going to be part of it. You're going to find your balance as you move forward. And that's all there is to it. Your next step on the path line, and what is pinning the entire reading in the center, is Hagalaz, which is the rune of the hailstorm. This I usually read as chaos, things that are out of your control, but also weather. This is, sometimes things are just weather, and they come in and you can't argue with them, and they just happen, and you have to deal with them. But the other thing that you need to remember is that you too are a force of nature. This is also about nature. This is nature. This is your true nature. And this is what you're finding. It's like, as you move forward, this is going to come into being. Move out of this place where you've been knocked off your feet. Move forward from there. Just move forward. This is not a good place. Move forward from there. And moving forward reestablishes your flow, and it reestablishes your journey. It resumes your journey. So you may have a step after this where things are going to feel a bit chaotic, but it's also where you're going to recognize that you are also a force of nature. And this is why we're connecting to the source energy, to the sun energy, because this is part of it. What is going to help you with this is taking it step by step, being very, very patient with yourself and with the situation, and just not, again, you're not stopping moving forward. All three of the upper runes have to do with getting yourself moving forward. So, and I'll get to this one. So basically, even if you can't move forward quickly, move forward that step at a time that you need to. We have Ivaz, which is the rune of the yew tree. This is patience, slow growth, slow development, taking things step by step. Move forward. Keep moving forward. And you're going to find, the energy that you have is that connection to source, where you have that realization that you too are a force of nature, and that you are able to keep moving forward. And obvious opposite to that, and what isn't going to help you, is not moving forward. We have Isa, which is the rune of ice. This is stillness and standstill, stagnation, freezing in place. Do not do this. This is, it may feel crazy and chaotic, but keep moving forward no matter what happens. That next step is, you can see what the next step needs to be. Just take it. Just take that next step. Your next step on the path line, we have Pertho, which is the rune of the lot box. This is surprises and fate. Whatever's in the lot box was already in the lot box, but you didn't realize it until you opened it, and you're not going to be able to open it until you pass this middle step. So once you move through the storm, and the storm can also be you, but once you move forward through that will earn you the unboxing of this. And then things will reveal themselves to you that you will go, oh, that was always there. That was what was already going on, and that was always going on. I didn't realize. Everything makes more sense. It's going to be that missing piece of the puzzle. What's going to help you at that point is we have Tivaz. Tivaz is Tyr's rune. Tyr is the warrior god. So it does have to do with driving forward. Do not stop. In fact, if anything, pick up at this point, because you were moving very slowly through this step by necessity. But yeah, pick up your sword, move forward, make it into a quest. But the other thing that Tyr's about is taking care of duties and responsibilities, and taking care of what needs to be taken care of. So definitely be doing the basic things. Once this starts to reveal itself, make sure that you're taking care of what needs to be taken care of. This, like the basics, like housework and keeping yourself fed and clean. Just do what you need to do. What isn't going to help is worrying about what other people think. Don't do this. We have Manaz, and the runes are saying don't do it. We have Manaz, which is the rune of humanity and your part in it. It's an upright rune in the negative spot, which means worries about that thing. So you are worried about what people are thinking of what you are doing. That's going to drag you down. You know what you need to do. Just bring yourself back up to where you're taking care of what needs to be taken care of. Nobody can argue with that, and nobody should even be arguing with you about any of it, because it's your journey. So yeah, just basically ignore even if anybody does say anything. ignore that. But if you're just worried about what people might think, you're going to be able to eliminate that by just taking care of what needs to be taken care of. What this is all going to lead you to is we have Fehu, which is the rune of the cattle. It's wealth and worth. And it's basically you are going to feel much more worthy. Things will be much more integrated. Cattle is basically the wealth that you tend. So it's not necessarily money. It's whatever it is in your life that whenever you take care of it gives your life richness and a sense of worth. So that's what it's all going to end up being focused on. And you're going to feel more worthy after this experience than you did before, especially as you take things in hand and as you keep moving forward. You can look back and say, I could have stopped at any point in this and I wouldn't be here now. And so you can be very proud of yourself and you'll look around and you'll just feel just this great worth that is your life. So that, card number 2, people, is your reading for unblocking the flow and resuming your journey. I wish you all the best with this, and I wish you a lovely day or evening. Take care till next time. Bye. Hello, card number 3, people. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to Three Crows Runes. We already did that bit, though. Let's turn this card and see what we need to do to start that flow flowing again. So we have drawing down the moon. What's really neat is we just had drawing down the sun. I did shuffle these, so that's quite neat. Divine Feminine, Source, Channel, and Stillness. So it is at this point, which is basically the opposite of what I just read, it's time to connect with the yin aspect of things, the softer, more silvery, more divine feminine aspect of things. One of the other things about the moon, and I think that we talked about this on this channel before, is that whole thing about emanating moon, where you are looking to reflect the radiance around, the best radiance around you, and it really is the radiance that you want to reflect, that source light that is coming from everything. And when you do it to yourself, when you reflect your own radiance, let your own radiance reflect onto you, this is very healing, because it's you're healing yourself with your own radiance. So this is basically what's going to help you. It's going to take a much gentler hand than I think maybe you've been trying to do to unblock things. It's almost like you need to just inhale. Well, you need to just inhale. Look at this. Look it. That's very cool. Oh, how nice is that? So now I have to tell you, when I was asking the runes what we were going to do these readings about today, what I got was Lagus, which is the rune of flow, and Raido, which is the rune of the journey. And so it's basically, how do we unblock the flow to resume our journey? And look what you have in your reading right now. Oh, that's cool. We have Lagus and we have Raido. So unblock the flow to resume your journey. So right now you're very much, you're in sort of an emotional state right now anyway. You are seeking to connect with heart, and that's going to be very important. But it's right now it's a bit upheaval-y and surge-y. But this is Lagus. It's the rune of emotion, intuition, heart, and flow. So we are going to be sort of getting things settled. We're going to see about settling the emotions as far as just letting them flow, because emotions are like weather, and the problem comes when you basically either cling to them or start to identify as them, and you need them to just be flowing. But also connecting to heart. Heart is an extremely important thing at this point. So you've been very focused on the flow, though. You've been very focused on it because you feel like it hasn't ever since what happened, which made you feel very disarmed. So we have, leading up to this, we have Tivaz reversed. Tivaz is Tyr's rune. Tyr is the warrior god. Reversed, first of all, in the path line, it definitely has to do with having felt disarmed. You feel like the sword of your quest has been knocked out of your hand, and you feel like you're having trouble lifting it up again. And so now your question is about flowing forward. This also has to do with, this has created situations where you have things that you now need to take care of. So you definitely need to turn the duties and responsibilities that you've been taking care of, you need to turn that around and start doing it for yourself, because that's very important. Is this slipping again? Maybe a little bit. Let me just pick that up. So here we are now, very focused on, okay, how do we reconnect with the flow? How do we reconnect with heart? How do we reconnect with intuition? How do we allow our emotions to flow rather than pooling and getting all surgy and being a problem for us? What is going to help you is just first of all, see this as part of your journey, but also resume your journey. Keep moving forward. Do not stop here. This is not the place to stop. Well, pause as long as you need to get things in order, but basically keep moving forward. Keep taking those steps. What isn't going to help? We have Othala reversed. Othala is the rune of the home and the homeland. Reversed, I always read this when it's on one of the upper lines as letting go of things that no longer serve, as finding home within, and also as stepping outside of your comfort zone. But right now, you are looking to have a lot more comfort, which is why we're going with a more gentle route of connecting with Moon, that aspect of Source where you're connecting with it, but it's the reflection. And it's the softer input. It's the more silvery softness, more still, more quiet. And so, but this thing that you've just been through, you really have felt very unseated. You're feeling very, like, you feel like you've been sort of kicked out of where you want to be. You feel like you've been thrust out of your comfort zone. And that's very upsetting. You may have had some momentum going on, and it was very nicely yang momentum. You're moving forward, and then suddenly this is not viable anymore, and you feel like, what do I do now? Yang is not viable, then that means you've slipped into your yin phase, and so we're going to do something a lot softer. We have the water. We have, the yang is sort of turned upside down at this point. So we're going to start flowing. We're going to do the watery flow. We're going to connect with Moon. And move forward. Keep moving forward. Because things don't stop just because it's night. Things don't stop just because the moon is in the sky and not the sun. The sun is reflected. So it's a softer light. Your next step on the path line and pinning the entire reading right in the center, we have Ingvaz, which is Ing's rune. Ing is another name for Frey, and Frey is the fertility god. And I read this as active creation. So your next step after reestablishing flow, and I love that you've done this in your first step. The whole thing is going to be about, all of these readings today are about, reestablishing flow so we can resume our journey. Well, you've done this. Your first step, right in your central issue spot, you've done it. Your next step, once things have been resumed, is to work with what you have and start shaping things. And there's even a sense of shaping with the hands in this. So you're going to, and this is kind of a yang move, but it's still, it's sort of, what do we have? We have yin, yang. I guess you could call this a bit yin, but it's not really. It's harvest. Well, it's harvest, it's earth. So, but that's quite yang. Anyway, I disproved my theory. But this is basically where you're going to take things in hand, and whether you're waving between yin and yang at this point doesn't really matter, because at this point you want to take things in hand and start to gently shape them into what you need around you. It's not going to be like very, very aggressive, but it is going to be very hands-on at this point. So it does seem to have swung into a slightly more yang moment in this. What's going to help you is keep connection with your inner dialogue. We have Ansuz reversed. Ansuz is the rune of communication and manifestation. It's and expression, but it's reversed. So first of all, listening is going to be very key. Second of all, listening within, basically having that inner communication, your inner dialogue with your inner self, the inner voice, whatever those are, whether this is guardians, guides, angels, etc., or whether this is your higher self, or whether this is just your inner voice that you're bouncing things off of and going, okay, what do we need to do? And just keeping that dialogue going on, and that's going to help. It's almost like connecting with instinct in some senses. So just keep that going on, and it's sort of your balance. And then you can shape the things you need to, and being honest with yourself with what you need. And that's going to come through with that inner communication. You're not going to do this bludgeoningly. We have Uruz, which is the rune of the wild ox. This has to do with strength, health, stubbornness, stick-to-itiveness, and digging in, groundedness. You're still worried about that because this was very worrying. So when you got disarmed recently, and you felt you couldn't move forward in that, I don't want to say aggressive way, but in that driving forward way that you were before, it felt like your whole house collapsed around you kind of thing. Please let that not have been so. But it feels like your comfort zone was you've been shoved out of it. And then that was a worry that's like that's happened. And it feels like worse than it was, but it still felt very uncomfortable. And then you're worried also about your strength. You're worried about your ability to resist things. So that's your worry. It's an upright rune in the negative spot. So we have Uruz, which is the rune of the wild ox. It's strength and health. And it's in the negative spot here. You're worried about being strong and forceful and immovable. But that's not where we're at right now. We're in a state of flow. So shape what you need to and have that inner communication. And that's going to help you see this as a more dynamic thing than just something that is very solid and still with you driving forward. What this is going to lead you to, your next step, is we have Yira, which is the rune of the harvest and also time. So this is the fruits of your labors. This is the coming to fruition of what you've been doing. And it's also a completion of what you've been doing. So it's very good. You're going to feel very much more in the present moment at this point, and you're going to feel the abundance coming through. What's going to help you at that point is this is when you're going to really lean on the stillness and savor this moment. So we have Isa, which is the rune of ice. This is standstill and stillness. It's the stillness through which clarity comes. So once you've reestablished flow and then started to shape around you what you need, you're going to start to see the fruits of your labors come through. And then don't just rush forward from that. Have a moment to be still and let clarity come through from that and experience this. Don't worry that by doing this, you're turning away from humanity. This is what you need to be doing. This is actually really funny because it's a negative rune. It's a reversed rune in the negative spot that I'm reading as a worry about that thing. Don't worry that by doing this, you are turning away from the din. Well, you are turning away from the din of humanity. Don't worry by doing this that you're turning away from where you belong in humanity, where you have that sense of belonging, because you're not. This is a very important thing that you've done for yourself. This isn't the problem. This is what needs to be done. I think this also follows as well this path, which was you felt disarmed. You felt like you've lost your comfort zone. You feel you're worried about being able to be grounded again. You're worried about your strength and solidity. And then you're worried about that this meant you got kicked out of your place in humanity, which is not the case. But all of this can be a downward spiral worry that can lead to this point. Please, if this starts to be the case, allow yourself let yourself be still for a little bit, because even just a few moments is going to allow the clarity to come through that says, no, I do belong. If I'm here, I belong. So that's the thing. So if it gets to that point, if you follow this part of the path, if you follow the path with this as what you've been leaning on, you may get to that point where it's like, where do I even belong anymore? Bring yourself back up to, it's like, no, I'm continuing my journey. I'm having that inner dialogue, and whenever I feel like maybe I don't belong, let myself be still and see how I absolutely do. And this alone should be also your proof, which is that you're getting the fruits of your labors at this point. You are feeling more abundant at this point. And what this is all going to lead you to is a great sense of worth in the world. We have Fehu, which is the rune of cattle. Cattle it's not necessarily money, but it's whatever it is that whenever you take care of it, always gives you a sense of richness and wealth, basically a worth in the world. And so you're going to feel a lot more worthy at this point than you did even before this happened, because you've been able to integrate all of this. So that is your reading for unblocking the flow and resuming your journey. I wish you all the best with this, and I wish you a lovely day or evening. Take care till next time. Bye. Hello to all of you who chose card number 4. Let's turn this and see the first ingredient of what you need to reestablish your connection to flow. So we have Banyan blessings, security, the hermit, expansion, and stability. So that's kind of neat. I'm almost tempted to throw down a rune on this and get it. Yeah, so I'm actually going to read this way. It's almost like by giving yourself all the stability and security that you feel you need, and by almost becoming a hermit in that, you will get a more inherent sense of expansion from where you are, because you'll finally feel safe. And through that, you will have a greater sense of belonging in the world. So that's several ingredients, but we definitely want to do that, because that's what's going to help you reestablish your connection to the flow, which is also going to help you reestablish moving forward on your journey. Ooh, neat. This is, oh my gosh. Okay. This is very interesting. So when I was throwing down runes to see what we were going to do these readings about today, I got 2 runes. I got Laguz and I got Raidho, which is basically Laguz is the flow and Raidho is the journey. So these readings were going to be about reestablishing or unblocking the flow so that you can resume your journey. And I have both Laguz and Raidho in this reading, and they're both reversed, which is very interesting. So there is definitely a sense of inner to this reading. And it also has to do with this. And this is basically saying you go in, you're going within in order to expand outward. And this is going to be all about finding security and finding, your stability. And it's through that you're going to be able to then, because you feel safe at last, expand outward and feel that sense of belonging in the world. So your central issue for this reading is Nauthiz, which is the rune of need. And this always means tend your needs. So there may be needs that you feel that you need to tend. Do that, because that is what it's going to be all about. And it's going to be your focus until you have done it. Leading up to this, we have Sovilo, the rune of the sun. It seems like, normally I read this as source energy and the things that whenever you do them connect you to that source energy, whatever that is for you, and to always rejuvenate you and to always nourish you. But in this case, look at this picture. It's like the sun is really, really, really hot and shining down extremely hard on these trees. But the trees, they have that there's that security underneath. So it's like you've gone under the trees, which are blocking out the harshest part of the sun, and now that you feel safe, then you can expand again. Then you can do what you need to do. So this is really a very neat little message, which is bigger than it seems. What is going to help you? We have Thurizaz, which is the rune. Thurizaz reversed. Thurizaz is the rune of the thorn, the giant, the gateway. It is always a challenge, but when it's reversed, and it's an extremely difficult challenge. And that's what the runes are saying, is like, embrace this challenge. This is yours. This is your challenge to embrace. So yes, it's going to be very difficult. Acknowledge that, but do this anyway. The things that you need to do them anyway, because that's really all that you need to do. And that, a lot of times, it's a thing that we all have problems with sometimes, where it's not moving. You want to do the thing, and you just can't bring yourself to do the thing. So there's lots of techniques you can try. You can try visualizing yourself doing the thing, and then, whatever, then you end up doing it. Or else you can sort of sit to it and do the thing until you're doing it, kind of thing. It's like things will move forward once you do. I know that's difficult for a lot of people. But sometimes it's just a matter of do just the tiniest beginning of the thing. It's not even if you had to do dishes. It's not even do a dish. It's go into the kitchen. And then when you're in the kitchen, what's the next thing you need to do? Let's arrange the dishes. Let's pick something up. What is this? It's a bowl. Let's put the bowls here. What's this one? A dish. Okay, let's put the dish here. What's this one? It's a spoon. Let's put this one in the sink. Just do that, one at a time. And then you'll find that it won't be one at a time. It'll be look, a bunch of cups. We'll put the bunch of cups. And then, so it's just basically, it is a very difficult challenge, but if you do one thing at a time that you need to do, suddenly you'll realize you've come through a whole bunch of it. But just embrace it. Embrace the challenge, because this is what it's all about right now, and you need to be doing it. What isn't going to help is we have Paratho reversed. Paratho is the rune of the lot box. This has to do with surprises and fate, reversed in the lower line. It's, you're worried about something that's really unpleasant that's going to happen. Maybe something unpleasant happened before. Maybe this was an unpleasant surprise anyway, the fact that it's just been so hot. This figuratively, it may be actually really hot for you. You could be in the northern hemisphere and just be sweating to death at this point. But it could be just the heat of things. And then it's just like one thing after another, one more unpleasant surprise, and you're just worried about all of that. And maybe you start a thing and it's like, if anything goes wrong, then that's the end of it. But that's not going to help you. Just embrace this as that it's going to be a very difficult challenge. And there are going to be moments where there's going to be something that you're not really happy about. Maybe you're going to pick up that dish and there's going to be leftover guck on it, and it's going to get on your finger and it's going to be like, ugh. But this is part of it. It's like, well, this is why I'm doing it. So your next step on the path line, we have Laguz reversed. Laguz is the rune of water. As I said before, it's emotion, intuition, heart, and flow. And it's reversed. And this is the rune that's pinning everything. And what I'm reading this as is, it's like I was saying before, it's like maybe you can't start things very yang stepping up, aggressively doing the thing. Maybe the only way to start this is from a very deep internal level. So maybe what needs to be done is we start the flow internally. This isn't like these things stopped. This is like we're moving forward. This whole thing is about flow and moving forward on the journey. And look, flow and the journey, but these are both reversed. And so this is that inner component. We're going to start this very internally. We're going to get ourselves into feeling like we're doing the thing first, so that it's easier for us to then do the thing. But we're going to find, we're going to seek where our heart is. We're going to acknowledge but allow to flow our unpleasant emotions. We are going to look to our intuition, perhaps our dreams. And so we're going to get that inner river flowing. We're going to get things flowing internally. And that's going to be the start. And maybe this is sort of like that whole upside down aspect of like we're going inward and making ourselves secure so that we can then expand outward from that. Find stability and security first. Be alone first before you can be with people, that kind of thing. But like have that. So what is going to help you is we have Raido, which is the rune of the journey, and it's reversed also. So this is about, you have these needs, and the needs are very much upright and in your face. So you're going to connect with, first of all, as I said in a previous reading, this is your challenge. The challenge is extremely difficult, but you're going to embrace it. But interestingly, because it's reversed, the only way the door is open is from within. And this takes us to our central rune, which is pinning the entire reading, which is we're going to reestablish flow, but we're going to reestablish flow internally. So we're going to mentally go in and reestablish that flow. And what's going to help you with that is carry forward the journey mentally. You're going to carry forward that. You're going to find spirit and let that go. Do we have Evas here? We do not. But anyway, it's implied with Raido, because Raido is riding. And riding is the horse, and the horse is movement and spirit. So find where your spirit's at and let your spirit carry you forward, because that's going to carry you forward. And hopefully, very likely, eventually, it will help you move forward in the flow of things. What isn't going to help is now is not the time to pick up the sword and force yourself to do things where your heart isn't. Or worry about that, because you are worried about that. I mean, you are forcing yourself to a certain extent, but in a gentle way where you're taking your hand, and then it's like, let's just think about it. Let's just walk ourselves through the steps internally and see where this leads when we connect with the flow inwardly. But this is Tivaz, it's Tyr's rune, it's the warrior god, it's in the lower line and it's upright, so it's worries about that thing. It's like you're worried that the world expects you to be driving forward out in the blazing hot sun beating down on you, and if you're not doing this, then what kind of a warrior are you? And it's just going to drag you down. You know what you need to do. You know you need to feel safe first. And this is the way that you're going to find that sense of belonging. So allow yourself this. Carry forward the journey inwardly first. Your next step on the path line, we have Gebo, which is the rune of the gift. This has to do with agreements, decisions, goals, and plans. It may have to do with a one-on-one interaction, but mostly I'm seeing this as in some sense as a completion, because you started this, and then you can actually sort of feel like, okay, I've made a start. And that's really good. Make your plans from that point. Once you've made the start, once there's momentum, even if it's internal, that is now finally leading to external, honor that, celebrate that, and start making plans. And then what's going to help you with that, we have Hagalaz, which is the rune of the hailstorm. This is I do often read this as chaos and things that are out of your control. It is weather, but I'm really seeing this as coming into your true nature, stepping forward in your power, which you finally have because you allowed yourself to feel safe. You can now step forward and become the force of nature that you have tapped into. And this is the same. This is as powerful a force of nature as what you were hiding from. So you're coming forward as you are. With the power that you have tapped into from allowing yourself to feel safe. And that's going to help you make the plans. That's going to help you say, hey, I've completed this thing that I did, even if it was just initial steps. I completed the beginning. What isn't going to help is we have Yira in the lower line. Yira in the lower line always initially has to do with how much time have I wasted, how little time may be left, and what do I have to show for it? So it's going to nitpick what you've just accomplished, which was huge. So try not to let that happen. It may be a temptation. It may show up and it may start to drag you down. But bring yourself back up to here where you've reestablished your connection to your power. And this is really important. And it's with this, it's like I needed to do that. Like you didn't waste time. What you were doing was spending the important time connecting with what you needed to do. And you did that by allowing yourself to feel safe. So definitely not a waste of time. You didn't waste time. And you are also a force of nature. And there's an aspect of this where it is your rules. It is your, you don't need to abide by the other people's or your idea of other people's idea of what you need to be doing. You need to abide by your timeline, which is natural and your nature. And so at this stage, make your plans. Your next step and the outcome of this reading is Uruz, which is the rune of the wild ox. This is strength, health, stubbornness, resilience, groundedness, the ability to stand up in storms. And you're going to feel a lot stronger and a lot less like a pushover. Not that you were before, but you may have felt like, I can't deal with this. I've got to go and hide. But you're going to feel a lot stronger because you will have access to this. You're going to have access to where you will feel safe and secure and stable. Because without that, you can't have this. And everybody has that. People take it for granted. Well, not everybody has that. That's why we need to find that. Everybody needs this. And the people who you think don't need it absolutely have it and just don't talk about it. So it's definitely going to be a matter of your strength, your resilience as you step out of this, now that you've made some plans and now that you have come into your power. So that, card number 4, people, is your reading for reconnecting with your flow, unblocking the flow, and rejoining your journey, resuming your journey. I wish you all the best with this, and I wish you a lovely day or evening. Take care till next time. Bye.